So, hello dear authors and invited guests. Welcome to technical session 8A. Good afternoon to all. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 6th International Conference on Information and Communication for Competitive Strategies. In concurrent with the 6th International Conference on Smart Trends for Computing and Communications through Zoom, we appreciate all the participants on this platform to go along with us digitally in these unpredictable circumstances of COVID-19. We hope you will enjoy the knowledgeable and interactive session. Just before we get started, I would like to introduce you all to the chair for the session, Professor Prashant Dhotre. Yes. Professor Prashant has more than 17 years of teaching and research experience. Currently, he is working as an associate professor in the Department of Information Technology of MIT School of Engineering in MIT ADT University. He was awarded a PhD degree in computer engineering by Aalborg University, Denmark in 2017. He is also working as a single point of contact for international collaboration between Indian Education Institute and Aalborg University, Denmark. His research domain includes security and privacy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So moving forward for our session 8A. So our next presenter, our first presenter is M. Sudhakar, and his paper title is Efficient Prediction of Fake News Using Novel Ensemble Technique Based on Machine Learning Algorithm. Sudhakar, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. You may please start your presentation.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, can you see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sudhakar. I'm a research scholar, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Bharat University in Chennai. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
So the abstract. This research paper, it will improve the detection rate of fake news from our Twitter, our Facebook, some other social media. We are going to use some machine learning algorithm to detect the fake news. We are proposing some novel algorithm, some machine learning novel algorithm for classifying the fake news information. We are going to differentiate from the fake news and the original information. This one deals with logical regression and support vector machine, a novel ensembling approach based on the machine learning algorithm. We used 10,000 records with the binary classic to determine the fake news and the real news. The result of demonstrated the proposed novel ensemble approach obtained a better accuracy value of 95% and loss value of 5% compared with the other algorithms. So we recently, the increase of the internet usage make most people to share their articles and ideas, post video across the Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and other social media. The increase of information sharing in the social media lead to rise the spread of fake information. Therefore, the authentication of news is also becoming very important. As technology have developed, manipulation of authentic images, videos have become an easy job. Fake news play a significant influence on the option public people. Fake news refers to the untrue information shared in the form of such report, articles, news, images, and videos. The main goal of the spread of the fake news is to manipulate the opinion of the public. There are different types of fake news are available. Targeted fake news, fake handling, virtual post, and satire. Bubbles of information, manipulation of news, and disturb of the media are increasingly several problems in our society. The knowledge required identifying the fake news, where it's coming from, the AI and machine learning algorithm, the NPL, natural language processing will help us to in this situation. I reviewed 5 of the research papers. The first one is Wang 2017. The author introduced a new data set, namely LAYER, that is used to detect the fake news automatically. The second one I reviewed Ahmad, the rumor investigation. The data are collected from the websites, which includes articles from the various news. The main aim of the author is determine the pattern of distinguish misinformation and the real news. The third one, the author process the Hawk News Inspector technique that automatically collect the manipulated news and distinguish them, the fake news and the actual news. The fourth one, the author implement 2 techniques to detect the fake news. The first stage is characterization, and disclosure is the second stage. The first stage will help us to highlight the concept and the principle of the fake news in the social media. There are 3 methods and materials we used in this research paper: text processing, feature extraction, and the model construction. The first stage is text processing. The first stage is text processing. The text file is read from the string concept of raw text. The number values are converted into 2 using normalization. All the text are converted to the same format. Eliminate all the non-words such as punctuation, white spaces, special characters. Break the sequence of strings into word. Keywords, symbols. This process is called tokenization. Closely redundant words are replaced with the same word called lamination or steaming. Frequently used stop words are removed. The second stage is feature extraction. In this feature extraction, transforming the text data to the numerical data is called vectorization or feature extraction. This feature extraction can be done in the various techniques: bow, n-grams, and time frequency. The third one is the construction of the model. There are 5 steps we are using in the construction of model. Split the data set into the training and the testing the specified in the 80% and the 20% ratio respectively. The second step, several transforms are to be chained together to form the pipeline. Pipeline adapted 2 methods: fit transform, which transform result to the next transformer, and fit the predict where the channels and end with the estimator. The third step, train the model using training set. The fourth one, fine tune the parameters for the detection tree algorithm to make the model for the data sets. The fifth one, repeat the step 1, 2, and 3 until the model fit the given data set. Evaluate the model using the training set. Description of the data set. The open source data set used in the experiment can be obtained for free on the internet. This data contains the false and actual news articles collected from the various sources. Some published new article contain accurate information and a description of real-world events. Some fake news sheets control the statement that are not correct. Two data sets are accessed from the Google, namely dataset 2 contain 20,386 articles from the training and 5,126 articles from the testing. Many sources of the dataset were collected from the internet. Individual domain serve as a guide because they contain real and fake articles from the various fields. The second dataset, named dataset 3, consisting of 3,352 pieces, included either true or false. The actual article coming from the trusted online sources, the fake news which is come from untrustworthy news website. This one covers different areas, including the sports news, entertainment news, political news. These are some of the attributes we used. Unique ID for the new articles, the title for the new articles, author of the new author article, the text of
Sorry
the
to interrupt
paper.
you, but you have last 1 minute. Please conclude your presentation. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, you have last 1 minute. Please conclude your presentation. Other participants are still waiting for the presentation.
Okay. So these are the data sets I have collected, and these are the result and discussion. So I collected the data sets, and we have used different algorithms.
Sudhakar, there is a one question from the session chair, that which parameters distributes between real and fake news?
So which one, sir?
Dr. Prashant has write a chat box. What is
Okay.
approach of your solution? That
Okay, I didn't see the chat box. I will check, sir. Oh, I didn't see the chat box, sir.
have you seen the message? Have you seen the message, Sudhakar?
Hello, sir.
Have you seen the message from
Yes, sir.
Prashant, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Which
please.
parameter distinguish between the real news and the fake news?
Yeah. Please answer the question of the for session, sir.
This one. I will check, sir.
Sudhakar, you can answer the question in for everybody.
Okay, sir. I answered in the chat box, sir.
No, you can speak. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, sir. Support vector machine, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, please conclude your presentation now. Can you hear me?
Hello,
Sudhakar?
sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Sudhakar, please conclude your presentation.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me? I'm audible to you.
Hello, sir.
Sudhakar, I'm audible to you.
Yes, sir.
Please conclude your presentation.
Say it again, sir.
Please conclude your presentation, Sudhakar. As we are running out of time. So
Oh, okay, sir. My internet is not stable. That's why I'm struggling.
Okay.
Conclusion, sir. The problem of fake news is dangerous, and the information is made available to the public. Various form spread of like wildfire. We can control the spread of misinformation with the help of artificial intelligence techniques more efficiently. Data at the each stage are analyzed, and then prediction are made. Many attempts be made to solve the misinformation problem because the social media sites such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, many data top models are getting better every day. The work is adopted 3 standard algorithm. Hello. Hello.
yes, Sudhakar.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you have concluded your presentation now, right?
SPM and linear regression techniques and proposed as ensemble techniques to detect the fake news. To obtain the result, proved that the ensemble techniques get detect more accurately than any other method. The main challenge is fake news prediction may incorrect the data, which means that predictive model may have anomalies and errors. In the future, various NLP techniques such as keywords tags words can be used to improve the performance. These are the references.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Okay, there's a special note for the presenters that you will be given 8 minutes for the presentation and 2 minutes for the question and answers. And on the 7 minutes, I will be raising a gentle reminder, and the presentation is going on. The participants kindly be muted. So moving forward for our next presentation is Karupasamy M, and his paper title is an efficient resource allocation mechanism using intelligent schedule for managing energy in cloud computing infrastructure.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, can you please start your presentation?
Yes. It's audible and visible to all.
Yes, it is.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon to all and all present here. So myself, Karupasamy, assistant professor. Currently, I'm working in Kalasalingam Academy of Research and Education, Krishnangoil, Tamil Nadu, India. So my end title an efficient resource allocation mechanism using intelligent scheduling for managing energy in cloud computing infrastructure. Cloud computing is an on-demand resource and service provider through the internet. It's having 4 different categories of deployment model: public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. In cloud computing, they are providing 3 categories of main services. The first one is software as a services, platform as a services, and infrastructure as a services. The cloud play a virtual role in storing the data and retrieving the data. At the same time, it provide the service whatever the customer require. The cloud architecture is built with the hardware and network devices. The number of data centers are increased day by day because of we have a lot of online services. So number of data centers day by day they are increased. Next, performance. Single system and data centers. In single system, when we are run some service oriented or some customer oriented services in a single system or distributed system, its execution time will be low. At the same time, we are moving to the data center services. The number of users will be increased in day by day, and number of services also resolved by day by day. Challenging in manage the data center. The first one is a scalability, second one is a reliability, and multi-user manageability. Green information technology. The scalability is how many users are going to be used in our data centers, and the reliability is how the service provided to provide the secure the customers data. The multi-user manageability. At the time, multi-user manageability means at the time the customers requirements, the service provider to the fulfill that need to fulfill the customers requirements. Green information technology. The green information technology is utilize the number of green resources and the same time algorithm based and how much of resources to be stored reduced during the work time. These are all the challenges in the to manage the cloud data centers. Then need for scheduling. Computing is a terminology for designing, managing, and utilize and disposing the computing resources to the reduce the power and cost mechanism, as also to reduce the carbon emission. Here, when we are utilize the main resources, computing resources, suppose unutilized resources to be switched off more. In scientific workflow, we need a large amount of computational resources for execution. This is a very important to utilize the resources and to manage the resources to reduce the energy. In our approach, the customer request in cloud must be satisfied by the service providers based on the intelligent scheduling with effective utilization of energy. It's in here we have divided the customers into 2 categories. The first one periodical and second one non-periodical customer. The periodical customer, they are using cloud services in regularly. Non-periodical customer, they have used in cloud usage or cloud resource utilization in randomly. So our approach, the customers, we split it into 2 stages. First is periodical and second is non-periodical. Periodical customer, we can use the complex business needs. For example, so banking and finances, and examples of booking systems and these and all. The other services means we can provide the some registration. For example, Google Sheet, Google Form, etc. To switching the resources based on the periodic and non-periodic customers. Here, the resources available are exceeding in the requested task. Whenever the request is high, the available resources to be cannot be switched on the additional resources. So we should put the additional resources in the sleep mode. When the request is increased, at the time of we can switch it on the additional resources. The say from the utilization of the cloud resources, way of cloud resources, we can avoid the wastage of energies. Here we can mention that before applying that our intelligence algorithm scheduling, the power utilization terawatts be increased 1.145 after manual implementation of our intelligence scheduling algorithm. The power resources utilization resources will be reduced in these are references.
Prashant sir's question. Have you read the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes. I know it. Right. Yes, sir. We can calculate the utilization of energy is based on the task. What task we can receive from the customers. So we can use the parameters, different category of parameters of energy calculations. For example, how much of task size. For example, we have to send the MP file. One MP file means we have to calculate the 1 MP file size and how long time it will be transfer time and how long it will be reach the destination.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Moving forward for our next presenter is Evgeny Jetchev, and her paper title is Performance Improvement of the Multi-Agent System of Knowledge Representation and Processing. I think so she is not here. So moving forward for our next presenter, Devashri Wright, and her paper title is Implementation of Generic Medical Device Software Integration with Multiple Protocols. The presenter, you may please start your presentation.
Yes. Is my screen visible, sir?
No, not right now.
Now, sir?
No, not yet. Yes, now it is.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Devashri Wright, a research scholar from the Kalinga University. My topic is implementation of general medical device software integration with multiple protocol support. In this project, or I should say in this research, we have gone through these contents like introduction, our proposed system, how we have implemented it, different classes of programming, the parser functions, what GUI we have used, conclusion and the references. Now, going to the brief idea about this research is that what we are doing is nowadays we are facing different medical issues. Like currently we are facing the COVID problem. Now here what is happening is when we go to for the testing things like in laboratories, we generally do the medical tests like blood test, urine test, or other vitamin tests, etc. Or like we do ECGs, etc. to find out what disease we are having or diagnosing the disease. Right. So when we visit a laboratory, what we do is they take the samples, they give their samples to some particular devices, and then the devices will process it like the biological devices, and the results will be generated by the device itself. The device is nothing but the analyzer, and these analyzers, they generate the results. These results are taken manually. Like, for example, if I am having say blood sugar level like 126 or my BP is like 90, so these tests are recorded manually and entered into some particular software which is connected to that analyzer. And after doing all these entry of the parameters, they will be given to the doctors, and then doctors will prescribe further for different medications. So this is a brief idea of this research work. Now, I would like to show this particular diagram here. So, sorry. So in this, we can see the two devices, like it's on the right upper corner. First one is the analyzer and another is the LIS host. Now, I was talking about this analyzer, that is the device in which we give the inputs like our blood samples or other vitamin samples, and then some particular result is generated. Now, giving a more brief idea about this analyzer is it processes all the blood samples and everything, and it will generate some particular value of a parameter. These parameter values they are recorded manually on a paper sheet, and then later on they are entered into the LIS host manually by some particular assistant. Right. Now, what we want to do here is we want to generate a software which will automatically connect the analyzer with our desktop or the or any monitor or a device. That means that whatever results the analyzer is generating, they will automatically pass on to the LIS host, and the LIS host will then later on give the analysis in our particular format. Whatever format we are desiring, in that format, the LIS host will generate the results. Now, on the lower corner, we have a proposed system, like they are having, say, data entry of different systems like PathLab reports, daily activities, lifestyle, sitting habits, and the exercise habits. All these things or parameters, they are going to predict further for the disease diagnosis. So we will collect all the reports into the database, and then we will apply the machine learning algorithm, whichever is suitable for our data set, and then we will generate some result, and we will then visualize the results into different methods. Now, steps involved in this project is what we are gathering the information, and then we are building some particular software to connect all these things. And then we will generate some result and present it into our presentation layer. Then what will happen later is this will actually include data processing and then moving towards the further machine learning algorithms for analysis purpose. Now here, what we will do is the class structure. What we'll do is the analyzer itself, it shows different database structures as well. That means it has a limited amount of databases. We can store different results into that. And then it has itself monitored into some particular software. That software will generate the parameter values in a very simple language so that it is easily understood by the assistant. What we want to do is we will have a communicator. The class diagram will show different components, like communicator is the center of all these things. The communicator will have different processes and it will connect to the databases, parsers, loggers, LAN servers, client servers, or any connection servers. Okay. And then the log servers will enter into different errors. For example, if I'm not getting a particular parameter value, then that error will be reported into the logger activity. Then after getting all the results, what we do is the samples are actually merged into everything. That means every patient is having the data which is not sorted form. It is not in a sorted form. So we need a parser for that. What the parser will do is it will split all the results. The results can be split into a incoming data or the blocks or the field or a string. So that will be depending on, we will parse the data depending on our delimiter. So these are the sample graphical user interfaces, what we got into the machines. The LabLink, it is a LIS software and it has generated such type of entries from the analyzer. So we can see here the raw data which we are getting from the analyzers. Here the data is not in the readable form or it is not structured. So we will analyze here different delimiters and then we will sort all the strings so that we can get into the tables. Like right side is showing the search table. Here we have sorted all the samples, parameter values, their units and date and the machine on which the sampling is done. So moving to the conclusion is that The main issue here was when we do a medical analysis, the main issue is to collect the patient data. We always we are always in a search of getting a data set, medical data set, real time. So I have focused here is how to get a real time medical data set. For that, I have visited different laboratories. I have experienced on their different analyzers, and I have tried to collect all the analyzer data sets. And after that, moving further will be doing the all research work on the data set which I am getting it. So this was all about my presentation. These are some of the references. And if you are allowing me, I can show you the video demonstration of my project.
Sorry, dear presenter, but we have running out of time. So
Okay, fine. Thank you, sir. Any questions, sir?
you can read it in the chat box.
Yeah, the features will be whatever data we are getting, like suppose we are testing for the BP or a sugar, that will be my parameters for testing, like hemoglobin levels, BP levels, ECG levels, they will be there. Yes. Yeah, is it fine? Yeah, algorithms, right. So the algorithms I will be taking, that is decided on the further analysis part. Like I'll be using different machine learning algorithms or say SVMs or some ensembling methods that will be further discussed into another research techniques. Like today I am actually explaining about the connections between these analyzers and our system.
Okay. Thank you. Now I would like to invite our next presenter, Vasant R. And his paper title is Utilization of Intellectual Learning Methods in Forest Conservation, Smart Growth and Upcoming Challenges. Dear presenter, you may please start your presentation.
Yeah, sir. Yeah. Is my screen is visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all present here. Actually, myself, Vasant, full-time research scholar in SRM Institute of under the Department of Computing Technology. This is my title: Utilization of Intellectual Learning Methods in Forest Conservation, Smart Growth and Upcoming Challenges. It's my introduction. Machine learning is an important branch of artificial intelligence. Is increasingly being applied in sciences such as forest ecology. There are three commonly used methods of machine learning, including that is first one is decision tree and learning, and then artificial neural network, and then third one is support vector machine. These applications are includes in the forest conservation like species distribution model and carbon cycles, hazard assessment and prediction, other applications in forest management. So ML approaches are useful for classification, modeling, and prediction in forest ecology research. So that, however, the combined use of multiple algorithms and improved communication and cooperation between the ecology researchers and ML developers still present major challenges and tasks for the betterment of future ecology results. So we suggest the future applications of ML in ecology. So the ML utility tactics especially encompass the choosing significant information and data processing, and then choosing a satisfactory procedures, and then first rate analysis answers. So to accomplish that, refer to the overall outline of ML, after which awareness of three unique ML algorithms for woodland area atmosphere studies. The overview of synthesis currently put out packages of ML in woodland ecologies, and then deliberate dual blocks of ML in woodland environment science and a few dense Destiny application studies, applicable studies, and then current key ends with viewpoint at the use of ML techniques. There are three unique ML procedures used in forest environment sciences. The first one is tree-based AI techniques, and then artificial neural networks and support vector machine. The pros and cons of the three algorithms. The first one is tree-based AI techniques. The pros is the non-linear relationship between the parameters now do not affect the performance of the tree. And then classification and regression. COT is a strong for the result of outliers with the output, and then radio frequency can efficiently reduce the chance of overfitting. And then con is missing information could have a impact on preference trees, and overfitting also can moreover results. It has more difficult to deal with missing information. And in artificial neural network, the advantage is and it have a capacity to concentrate future further to display the nonlinear and complex connections. They are likewise solid and flawed to voices the informations, and then it have a strong limit with the with respect to resemble the preparing. And then disadvantage its learning system can't be determined during a black box which finishes up in the output. This can be addressed to explain. And then artificial neural networks are not ready to become allowed to relative significance and outcome of the character environmental variables. In support vector machine can display nonlinear decision limits, and there are different bits to decision out from. And it is likewise very strong nearer to overfit explicitly in unbalanced dimensional space. And then SVM can be proficient with a couple of significant fixes and can healthy control data. And then disadvantages, support vector machine is intensive and harder to tune due to the importance of choosing the correct kernel, and now does not scale well to large data sets. In all fairness, it most relies on the lost facts as guides vectors. And then the application and its highlights is there are 4 applications. The first one is the predicted distribution of spices with climate exchange. When we are using ORF methodology, the highlight is prediction accuracy can be improved by using ORF. But when we are using SVM, when observing fever day records, SVM performs well. In second one is an analysis of an carbon energy fluxes. When we are using artificial neural networks that combined with traditional models, and it reduces the uncertainty of the prediction. And artificial neural networks are excellent at mining data. And then in third application, accessing and predicting the hazards. When we are using artificial neural networks, data of high dimension can be handled by ANN, and they can be applied effectively. It is possible for ANN to map non-linearly. When we are using SVM in terms of resolving classification issues, SVM are an excellent tool. Now, and then final one is forest management that I termed as timberland management. When we are using artificial neural networks, it is acceptable to anticipating the over the ground biomass, and then wood forest volume, and trees tallness, and stem tighten. And then when we are using RF methodology, joining RF and other spatial and additional approaches has extraordinary potentials. These are all the highlights of these methodologies for these applications. When we're the utilization of AI procedures in forest nature, ML has been generally received and incorporated by scientists considering expanding worries over timberland environments, including the first one is spices dispersion demonstrating, second one is carbon cycle, third one is risk assessment and forecast. In spices dispersion demonstrating, they accompanying the advances and generally taken, they are, I list out that the first one is area of event of animal varieties are incorporated. The second one is estimation of ecology indicator factors. These areas are separated from the spatial data sets. And then third one is the natural quality and are utilized to fit a model to comparability to the locals of events, and another measure like wealth of the spices. The fourth one is the model is utilized to anticipate the variables of premium across the district of revenue. And then carbon cycles, it make the flexibility of artificial neural networks to natural conditions is solid if preparing and test the informations are adequate. And then the better forecast of motion were accomplished for forested and the sticks concentrated on zones under the outer edge environment conditions or with less information. And the final one is risk assessment and forecast. ML is an amazing grouping, displaying, and forecast apparatus in forest environment research. And the strength of ML techniques be that it has me requires more preparing and its test informations. Overall summary of this study is ML approaches, however, they're responsible for numerous valuable tools that should be more analytically considered to contract with a number of relevant environmental difficulties. And then in this study, we proposed one direction for future research on this subject. The strength of ML techniques has always been data mining, particularly deep mining. ML techniques will be the ideal alternative for ecologists in the face of influx of large amount of research data, especially on a worldwide scale as more and more data sharing becomes reality. So these are all my reference. Thank you.
Vasant, there is a question in the
Yeah.
chat box.
How RNN can be used? Actually, recurrent neural networks. I don't have exact idea with RNN. So. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Vasant.
Okay.
Our next presentation is from Arun Prasad, and his paper title is Real-Time Application for Deaf and Dumb Bidirectional Communication Using Learning Methods.
Yes.
You may please start your presentation.
Sorry, is my screen visible?
Not yet.
No. Okay. I
Yeah,
hope
now
my
it
screen
is.
is visible now. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone present here. I'm Arun Prasad, doing full-time PhD at SRM University, and my topic is real-time application for deaf and dumb. It is bidirectional communication using the learning methods. So this is my introduction. Right. So my slideshow is not working. Let me. Okay, yeah. And this is my introduction. Artificial intelligence has been witnessing a huge growth in bridging the gaps between the capabilities of human and the machines. What is the main objective of artificial intelligence is making the machines to view this world as humans do. Like we can see and identify the things around the global, but the machine cannot able to see like the humans do. The main objective of the artificial intelligence is to making the machine view the world as like we do. So the researchers and enthusiasts are like working on numerous aspects of the field to make amazing things happen. So one of many such areas, the domain of computer vision. So as like I told, the main agenda of the artificial intelligence as the enabling the machine to view the world as humans do. And since we are talking about the deaf and dumb people, we should understand what are the reasons for deafness. So let us understand the different types of hearing losses, because if it is an by birth problem, we cannot able to solve that kind of issue. So there are three types of hearing losses. One is sensory neural hearing loss. The second one is conductive hearing loss. Then third one is the combination of both the things, which is a mixed hearing loss. So sensory neural hearing loss is the problem in the ear or auditory nerve. So they cannot able to hear the sound in the inner auditory nerve. So that is called sensory neural hearing loss. The second one is conductive hearing loss. So here the sound waves are not reaching inside of the air because of some injury or accident, or it can be anything, but the sound waves will not able to reach inside the air. So that is the conductive hearing loss. So the third one is mixed hearing loss. The problem in the hearing is caused by combination of these two types. And before moving into the problem, we should understand why we are in the need of this platform. So over 5% of the world population has disabling and hearing loss. So if you take it in the percentage, it is just 5%, but in the numbers, it is a 466 million people. So if you take around the world, we have 466 million deaf and dumb people. So and it is also estimated that by 2050 we will have 900 deaf and dumb people. So in India, if you take India alone, it is 1.3 million people. So the 2011 Indian census roughly cited 1.3 million people have in hearing impaired loss. So which is 1% of the Indian population. So what is sign language? So the sign language is a way of communication between the deaf and dumb people. The normal people cannot able to understand the sign gesture language, because we have to go and learn properly the sign language. Without knowing the sign gesture, we cannot able to communicate with the deaf and dumb people. But communicating between the deaf and dumb community, they will use sign language. So what we are here going to do is, like, we're gonna take that data set, we're gonna process this in the machine, and we are going to enable the platform to convert the deaf and dumb sign language to voice. So the visual based gesture recognition will help to overcome this kind of limitations in the deaf and dumb community. But earlier days, the deaf and dumb people will not come out for jobs like nowadays, but they are in the need to do that now. So we have to make that comfortable platform which will convert the deaf and dumb people sign language to voice. So the main problem in the sign language is, like, the spoken language. There are so many varieties of sign languages are available around the global. So we cannot able to take a single sign language and make a platform, and we cannot able to do that simply. So every sign language is different, and there are somewhere between 138 and 300 different sign languages are used around the global today. So we cannot able to make a 300 different sign language platform. So we have to find one universal sign language, but it does not exist. So it is in the hand of deaf and dumb school. So I have displayed some of the letter-based sign language, which is an Indian sign language dataset. So each and every alphabet in the English, we will have some gestures. So using these gestures, the deaf and dumb people will represent each letters. So these are the Indian sign language dataset. And there are totally 3 types of SLR is available. SLR means a sign language recognition method. So one is the letter-based recognition and word-based recognition. And the third one is a sentence-based. So if we want to represent a name or a place or thing, we cannot able to represent in the word or a gesture. So for that, we need a letter-based recognition method. So it will help to address some name or place. So the second one is word based. So when we are saying hello, hi to the deaf and dumb people, we can say by simply voice, but the deaf and dumb people cannot able to represent each letter in the alphabet, but they can use these kind of recognition method at the time. So the main purpose is when we are talking with them, if they want to address the words in the single time, they can use this, like call, hi, hello, etc. And the third one is sentence based continuous SLR. This kind of approaches will helpful when we come going for real time implementation systems. So continuously it will recognize the gesture, and continuously it will give the voice output. So mainly it is used in the video based recognition methods. And these are the 2 major types of recognition. The first one is wearable based sign language recognition, and second one is non-wearable device. So the first one doesn't need any hardware devices and things. By use of the camera, we can take the input and we can process that and give the output. But in the second one, we will use some kind of hardware like a sensor gloves or a kinet sensor to read the movements like this. So it consists of some sensors, measurement unit and microcontroller. It will track the movement of the fingers. Then it will pass that movements to the microcontroller. From that, we will read that measurement. Based on that movement, we will represent the sign, gesture, and voice. So whether it can be a voice-based, device-based communication or non-device-based communication. We should go through these 3 steps. The first one is input system, and the second one is a processing system, then output system. While giving the input, we can use the camera in the non-device-based recognition method. The first one is image processing technique. Then second one is once we find out that image, we have to compare that image with the existing database. So if the data set is matching with the existing database, we will give the corresponding voice output. So as like that, we gonna do. So this is vision based input system. First we are taking input from the camera, then we are going to process that image, and then we are going to extract that feature in the image, then comparing with the existing database, then the final output, which is in the form of a gesture. So this is sensor based gloves based recognition method. The major difference is like we are going to use this sensor gloves to track the movements. Then the next step is everything is the same. We are going to do the feature extraction and comparing the pattern with the database. Then the output is the whether it can be text or voice we can give. So this is a bi-directional way of communication system. If the deaf and dumb people is asking for something, they will show some sign. At the same time, we can also reply that in the next node, it will be converted to gesture. So at the same time, the both people can talk using this bi-directional communication system. So here we have used the mean shift algorithm. It is an centroid based algorithm, helps in various use cases of unsupervised learning. So it is mainly used in the image processing and computer vision techniques. So it's the main working principle is it gives the points around the object of the if the object is moving in front of the camera, it will give the points around that object. Then based on that count, it will give the output. So if the object is like having a 500 cluster algorithm points, so it will compare the existing database image count point. So if it is matching with existing count, so it will display that corresponding image. So some of the sample images in the mean shift algorithm.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you have last 1 minute.
Okay, so sorry. So in conclusion, in this work, we have used a two-way communication system, and every node will be act as a input and output node. So the different people can also send the image in one machine, and they can receive the output in the next screen. And this is my research thing. Hope this work for the deaf and dumb will remove the gaps between the normal. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let me see. What is the accuracy of the shift algorithm? Like I told you, sir, if the background is clear with the white cotton, we can get the maximum output. But if the background is also having some different objects like curtain or a window, something like that, it will reduce the accuracy of that platform. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sure. And moving forward for our next presenter is Tina Wirtz, and her paper title is Predicting the Consumer Behavior Based on Comparative Analysis of Salary and Expenditure Using Data Mining Technique.
Good morning, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Please start your presentation.
Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen.
Yes, please.
Accurate analysis of current data and situation help to forecasting the future. The prediction analysis, we must track of continuous and discontinuous changes in market. This is the exam. This is the process of data mining. Just we accepting the raw data mining base and table, because data mining and data store in row and column form. Then we discover the pattern and then utilize the result or predictions. These are the technique of data mining, predictive, descriptive, classification, clustering, naive, SVM, maximum, decision tree, X-mean, hierarchical clustering, density base, K-mean. These are the explanation of these. Predictive data mining, the procedure utilized to investigate the previous information and do make expectation about what's come. Means the predictive means when we processing the data, is a prediction when we get the output or what is the output. Classification. This method utilized to group the information into predefined classes or position for the instance characteristic and item as per utilize. Descriptive data mining. Incorporate every one of the information strategies and procedure that give a knowledge into past information. It break down very fast. Clustering. The procedure is utilized to make a precious bunches of its sequence which have been utilized. For instance, organize the things of like group in one. Association. This process utilized to discover the example in regarding the connection between things and similar exchange. Where we use data mining. Data mining used in market basket analysis, sales guessing, information based, and retail, and other uses of DNA testing, fraud marketing, debit or credit marketing. These are the uses of data mining. Then how that customer transfer from traditional shopping to e-shopping. These are the reasons why the customer change their traditional shopping into e-commerce. These days shopping is very easy task like mood freshener as compared to tiredness. E-shopping takes the place of traditional shopping. There is no need to spending money, hours and physical marketing. Now customer just relax and shop, sit and chair, just check the sales, discount and virtual marketing with the help of e-commerce. This is a comparison between e-shopping or offline shopping. So e-shopping and this is a online shopping. Meaning of customer. Customer is a person who make purchase good or services which desire from marketing. The consumer makes a purchase decision of good or services after going through a number of alternatives present in market. He decides which goods or services best suit his need, then goes for its purchase. Buying behavior customer is nothing. It is decision-making process of act. It involves the buying using the purchasing. Veka. I'm using the Veka tool for my analysis or prediction. Veka is developed in Vekato environment for the New Zealand. This is the benefit of Veka. Open user friendly, handle to easy, user friendly, easy to use. These are the limitation of Veka. Veka can handle only small data sets. Veka not spot some new algorithms, filter sections, absence, few specific transformation tool. If one value is missing, data set that not to use in algorithms. This is my descriptions of my data set. I am taking data from the Kaggle repository. Attributes of the instances. I'm taking my data contain 200 instances, 5 attributes, data types numeric, data format CSV, and attributes names as customer ID, gender, age, monthly income, and spending score. This is the data processing method and output. I'm just pre-processing the data, and this is the output and by using Veka. This is a process ARF file in Veka. This is the ratio of income and expenditure. This result says According to the data, result says that when the income is become high, then the expenditure ratio is low. Approximately, result shows on x-axis show and expenses per month of the customer, and y-axis shows the income of customer per month. Conclusion: information extraction. Information extraction from the data set is gotten one of the critical instruction of every single association for their advancement issues. This not just significance in the business, yet in additional assume an essential part in e-commerce for expenditure arranging the sequence matter. This study explained one of the slight significance of BECA to customer to analyze for the listing in sequence mining matter as well as information relative. It's for the e-commerce, e-business. This is e-business is a subset of the e-commerce. This study helpful for managing the marketing according to income, because income decide the expenditure of the customer. It helped to decide the expenditure ratio according to the income. E-commerce is the superset of the e-business. Commerce further divide into two phases of e-business and e-services. These are the references, and thank you.
The presenter, please check the chat box for the question.
Hello.
Please check the chat box for the question.
Okay, sir. How customer behavior measure based on reason or is living by his financial condition, sir? Financial condition measure the living standard of the customer.
And technically,
sir, just I'm taking in my presentation, I'm taking the data for the how do you store the customer behavior? Store, sir, it depending on the जो टेक्निक हम यूज कर रहे हैं उसी के बेस पे.
Please in English, please.
Okay. Sir, when we taking the data, result is depending on the data.
Okay, thank you. So moving forward for our next presenter is Maud Safia, and her paper title is Interpretation and of Handwritten Documents Using ML Algorithms.
Can I leave, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I think so. Safia is not here. So moving forward for our next presenter is Ranjita Ashati, and her paper title is Fractal Image Encoding Based Image Compression Using Multi-Threaded Parallelization.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. My paper title is Fractal Image Coding Based Image Compression Using Multi-Threaded Parallelization. My proposed work in this paper is to use parallelization to improve execution time of image processing technique, that is image compression. And my work is based on image compression technique, and my aim is to improve its execution time. For that, I have used parallelization. First, I have implemented a serial version of fractal image compression and then parallel fractal image compression. This FIC, fractal image compression, is one of the image compression algorithm that I have taken into account. This is the block diagram of fractal image compression. Actually, this FIC algorithm is a block-based image compression technique. Here in this, first is input image is taken. That image is divided into domain and range blocks of fixed size. Then encoding process is done on each block. This process is including, first step is to find the best matching domain block for each range block. For this matching, it involves 8 geometric transformations. For example, combinations of scaling, rotation, then translation, horizontal and vertical flip, like this, to reach a fixed point. Means after that, there will be no change in the next step, like this. So this comparison is done. Then the domain location and coefficients are stored. These are called transformation parameters. So these transformation parameters are transferred to the receiver for decompression. Now, after this, receiving these transformation parameters at the receiver side, receiver will decode it and will find the original image. That means the image is reconstructed at the receiver side. So in this whole process of FIC compression and decompression, the most time consuming part is the matching between the domain blocks and the range block. That time is increasing according to the size of the image. So it is computationally very complex, and it is very time consuming, especially for large size of images. So we can say in advantage, we can say its decoding time is fast, high resolution and fast decoding, but major disadvantage is it requires high computation time for the encoding process. So I focused on this point, we can say, and I tried to reduce the encoding time in this FIC algorithm. So I have developed a parallel FIC algorithm. In this parallel FIC algorithm, the major time consuming task, that is the comparison of domain and range blocks to find the best matching pair, it was done in parallel using multi-threading. So here the step of domain and range block, that is done first as it is in the serial version. After that, for each range block, a thread is started for every range block, and then searching is done in parallel. So it will take less time in the encoding process. These are the input images that I have taken. These are the 10 images of each size, means 10 images of 64 by 64, 10 images of 200 by 200, and this likewise 10 images. So total this 40 images I have taken as input images. Some are fractal images and some are non-fractal images. These are the results of my implementation. As you can see here, this is the encoding time and decoding time of the serial FIC, and this is the encoding time and decoding time of the parallel FIC. These are the different size images on which I have worked. And here we can see that the serial FIC encoding time is more for large size images, obviously. But for example, if image is 512 by 512, then encoding time is 4,000 seconds. All this time are written in seconds actually. So I tried to reduce this encoding time, and by using parallel FIC, I got this reduced encoding time, as you can see here. Graphically, I have represented here those results. This is the for serial FIC and parallel FIC encoding time. As you can see here, this is this blue one. It is showing more encoding time, that is for large size images, and this is reduced encoding time for same image. This is for the decoding time. So in this work, a multi-thread based parallelization using multi-core processor is implemented in Python to speed up this execution of FIC. And in results, I got it is reducing by 2.51 time in the encoding time. And in future, I'm thinking to more reduce this encoding time by making use of some different image similarity measures. For example, SSIM and entropy. SSIM means a structure similarity index measure. This is one of the index measure, we can say one of the similarity measures by which we can measure the similarity between the two blocks. So to match the range block and domain block, in my future work, I will use SSIM parameter, also entropy. So by that, I will try to more reduce the encoding time, which is required here for the encoding. These are the references. Thank you. So question, any question?
Ranjana, there's a question in the chat box. You can see it.
Sir, fractal image compression is a lossy image compression technique. So obviously when we compress any image, so at the receiver side, when it is decompressed, that image is not exactly the same. So some loss is always there because FSE is a lossy image compression technique. It is not a lossless image compression technique. But the image which is getting at the receiver side is acceptable as per the qualitative analysis, because I have done both quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. So according to this algorithm, the image which is receiving at the receiver side is acceptable. Its quality is good. For that, I have used PSNR, that parameter. How do you address that loss? Sir, in my future work also, I will focus on the parameters like MSE and PSNR to find out what is the loss in the image at the receiver side. And now also I have considered PSNR values actually. And it was good in the range of 30 to 35. So it is acceptable. That image is acceptable at the receiver side. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So moving forward for our next presenter is Thalia Hitachi. And her paper title is Email Spam Detection Using Multi-Layer Perceptron Algorithm in Deep Learning Model. Dear presenter, you may please start your presentation. Tashi, am I audible?
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, Safia.
Sir, I have a technical issue. After this person, can I proceed?
Yes, yes.
Can you call me, sir? Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. I call you after that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Tashi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Please, you start your presentation.
Okay, sir. Sir, is my screen is visible, sir?
Yes, it is. And please speed up your presentation. Okay.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you one and all to giving me this opportunity to present. My paper is on email spam detection using multi-layer perceptron algorithm in deep learning model. And my name is Mutyala Hitachi. I'm pursuing my MTech in KITS Warangal. And next, my next co-authors are Dr. T. Senthil Murugan, Associate Professor, and P. Kamakshi ma'am is HOD. And the overview of this paper consists of abstract introduction, literature survey, methodology, design, results, and conclusion. First of all, email spam detection it is a process of detecting spam emails present in the user's inbox. Certain spam mails occur in the user's inbox which are not important, and which can be useful to fraudulents, sent by the fraudulents, which can use it to store the user's data. So it is a harm. So these spam mails can be identified and kept at the spam mails. So In this, I had used the some of the algorithms such as SVM, random forest, and XGBoost. These are the machine learning algorithms, and I compared with the deep learning methods such as multi-layer perceptron algorithm, and the measurements taken on precision, recall, and F measure. I had occurred the accuracy of 99% in deep learning model, while the machine learning algorithms took somewhat less accuracy when compared to the deep learning model. And the introduction. In this, the spam mails, when you enter into the user's inbox, it is used to stolen the data. And here in this multi-layer perceptron consists of one or more 2 layers, and in which the activation function used is sigmoid activation function. And here the data set like Enron data set, which consists of spam and unspam mails together, and which consists of 10,000 emails. And many in literature survey, many cases took on particle spam optimization, heuristic algorithms, machine learning algorithms. And I took the techniques such as a deep learning model with multi-layer perceptron algorithms. And in methodology, when the incoming mail consists of a set of certain mails, and where the spam identifies and it kept into the before reaching to the user inbox, it reaches to the spam and it identifies to an spam mails. And the machine learning models such as SVM support vector machine. In this, where the classifier identifies it is a maximum margin hyperplane. It is a SVM is a linear model for classification, and it is also suitable for the regression problems. And it can solve the linear and non-linear problems, and it works well with the practical problems. And in the marginal hyperplane, it separates the with the positive and negative, which is near to the marginal plane. And whereas random forest, it is a random forest in the very depth of the decision tree. It goes to the random forest, which can it takes a more time, and random forest selects the higher number of classes as prediction. Next one is XGBoost. This XGBoost is an ensemble, is a popular and efficient. It is an open source implementation for gradient boosted trees algorithms, where this gradient boosting is a supervised learning algorithm. It performs accurately. And next one is a multi-layer perceptron algorithms, which has a 1 or 2 layers, which consists of an input layer and output layer, which is fully connected. And it calculates the output where the sigmoid activation function is used. And this is a bar diagram represents of the spam and unspam mails, which a blue color represents both the unspam, and with this red color represents spam mails. And also frequency token length is taken between the Enron dataset, normal emails and spam mails. And these are the results calculated on the precision recall F1 score, with true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative rate, where the precision is calculated by taking the total number of positive rates outcomes by total number of positive outcomes, whereas recall takes a number of positive outcomes calculated by the total number of positive outcomes, where then F1 score can also be called as F measure, where F is a randomly selected number, and it is a weighted average taken for the false negative and also false positive net into an account. And where an F1 is used, F1 is usually more useful than accuracy, especially when it is more suitable for uneven class distribution. And at last, the conclusion, I have calculated on the 99% of accuracy in the F1 score, precision, and recall in deep learning model, which gives the highest accuracy when compared to the machine learning algorithms. And here I took the Keras as a front-end library and TensorFlow as a backend, and dataset is Enron datasets. And will the results prove that deep learning method executes properly with 99% of accuracy. And these are some of the references I collected from the Springer IEEE conferences. And thank you, sir.
Tasu, there's a question in the chat box. You can check it. Tasu, have you checked the chat box?
Yes, sir.
Tasu, are you able to answer the question?
Sir, the question is how to calculate the accuracy. So
Yes.
accuracy is calculated by taking upon in the total number of samples. It is divided into 4 classes: true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. This precision F1 score and accuracy is calculated. Sir.
Thank you, Tasu.
Thank you, sir.
So next presenter is Mohammed Safia.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for giving a chance. I'm sharing. Sir, the screen is visible?
Yes, it is.
Good afternoon, sir. Today's presentation on interpretation of handwritten documents using ML algorithms presented by Safia. These are my co-authors, that is Kamakshi Pillai and Mahesh Kumar Tota, T. Senthil Murugan. This is the content I should explain in presentation. It includes abstract, introduction, literature survey, how it is used, what are the methods that are used in the methodology, how I implemented the result, conclusion, and lastly references. This is the first. We have the abstract. In this abstract, how the handwriting recognition is introducing to our world with the help of different types of algorithms.
I think your slide is not moving.
1 minute. Sorry, sir. Sorry. Stop sharing.
Yes, please run the slideshow.
Okay. 1 minute. Now it is visible, sir.
No, please make it full screen.
Sir, it is not. Sir, can I continue with this?
Yes, you can, please.
Okay, 7. In this we are using handwriting text character or text recognition. It is a trending field for researching with the help of different types of techniques like artificial intelligence, computer visions, neural network, deep learning, pattern recognition, image processing also. In this I have to detect the characteristics which the handwriting documents can taking as an input and convert into the machine readable format. The machine readable is nothing but the user can easily identify and understood what the culture writing is that, and what is the letter and what is the word from the given document or the image. The human being can easily understand. For example, 8th class studied person had that he or she does not understand any cursive writing. So I want to detect the cursive writing into normal text. So I had to do this project with the help of with the help of GAN, LSTM, CTC algorithms, with the help, and also using the scanned image as an input and generating the normal text and formal easily identifiable text is the output. In this I have creating a model with the help of deep learning algorithms for recognizing the text and characters. In this I am using CTC. CTC is nothing but connected temporal classification, LSTM long short term networks, and GAN. GAN is nothing but generative adversarial network. I have used in 3 algorithms, and I also compared how these 3 algorithms gives the best accuracy. The past the existing systems are CNN, convolution neural networks, and recurrent neural networks. Convolution neural networks, it is mainly used for analyzing the visual images, what we are sending and what is the generation of output. The RNN is nothing but the sequential of data that can be used for secure digits and also suitable for ML problems. It is mainly used for feed forward neural networks. The second in this the total paper I gained that I better viewing of handwritten text recognition. I comparing with those two.
Hello? Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
CTC and LSTM I
Hello. Satya, are you there?
The strength of pen movement is lifting up and down. That also movement I should found. Next, in this, many researchers are doing so many research about this handwriting text recognition with the help of different algorithms like SVM, random forest, K nearest neighbor, decision tree, convolution neural networks, and neural networks. They are using so much, but I am taking the different deep learning. From that, I taken exchange temporal classification, longest short-term memory networks, and adversarial networks. I compared of these things. The literature survey, so many literature surveys are there, but in these some of the literature surveys are telling that they are using some of the methods from end-to-end online writer identification with RNNs, and some of they are using converting the Urdu languages. They are using different styles and different models they are used. And in another recognition, they use NLP for separating the one algorithm to another algorithm with the help of results. And they are using also offline Urdu translation also they are used with the help of CNNs. In this OCR is nothing but optical character recognition. In this recognition, the comparison of a literature survey that tells that they are using graphical based and grammar based visual analytics that can be focused on the big data. They are using another paper, they are researched about GAN. GAN is nothing but generative adversarial. They can be give the sequential of information for modifying the text which we want, which type of style we want to write, and which font we have to use. Next, these are the methodologies I tell in the previous one, I used these three methods, algorithms, and approaches. These three techniques are used in this paper: LSTM, CTC, and GAN. First, we are discussing about LSTM. LSTM is nothing but long short-term memory. It is a sequence of linear order text which is used for machine learning. It is a subset of artificial neural network. It is a concept also, concept in deep learning architecture. It is a okay, sir. Okay. LSTM. CTC is nothing but it is used for training the neural networks and with the help of the loss function calculations. Also, it is mainly used for text and speech recognitions. It is used for alignment setting also. The GAN is nothing but it is a text generation with the help of different methods in deep learning. It is used as a convolution neural network. So I have taken this. It is also discovering the regular expressions and patterns of each and every data set. These are the applications like machine translation, automatic machine translation, character generation, fraud data detection, facial. These are the applications of deep learning. This is the implementation. First, we have to give the textured image, then it pre-process it, and then we have to divide the each and every letter of the segments. Next, we have to extract the future from the given data set. We have to classify with the algorithms which are. Next, we have to generate the output. This is we have to pre-process it. We have to clean the raw data which is taken from it. We have to divide the data into different small parts, and we have to detect it. This is the diagram that shows each and every word. The feature extent, we have to reduce the dimensionality of each and every recognition of each image. We have to classify different algorithms like LSTM, CTC for training the model. First, we have to take the input, then we have to pre-process and segment and to extract the features and train the model. We have to lastly finally generate it. This is the example. This is the Kelsey rating, which can be converted into the output as nominated any more labor peers. This is the performance evaluation. The GAN gives 99.2% and LSTM 78% and CTC gives 33%. This is the conclusion. I get GAN is the algorithm is better in view of handwriting recognition with compared to the other two LSTM and other algorithms. This is the best. These are the references. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. What are the methods of segmentation and future extractions? Methods we have to first we have to convert the text into. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Sir, your segments can be divided into different parts of words, easily characterized from that. And extraction, we have to reduce the each and every image pixels with their dimensionality. We have using the feature extraction methods. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Safia.
Thank you.
Moving forward for our closing remarks, I sincerely thank our authors for the excellent presentation in this session and all of our participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. All the presenters would be getting their digital certificates through email within 2 working days. And all the papers have been already forwarded to Springer. The publication will be live within 5 to 6 months. So kindly cooperate with the team ICTCS and the SmartCon 2021. And now I would like to thank our session chair, Dr. Professor Prashant Dodre, for chairing the session. So there is a token of appreciation from Team ICTCS, SmartCom 2021 and the Global Knowledge Research Foundation. Thank you, sir, for your valuable presence. And now I request you all to turn on your camera for the quick snapshot and making this conference and making this session memorable. Thank you. Thank you, Prashant sir, and thank all the authors and all the presenters. Thank you. Stay safe and take care. Bye.